Hi, thank you so much for having us, and thank you for joining us now. This session is called Equity at Sea, Reimagining Gender in the Blue Economy. In the session today, we're going to stand at the edge of a maritime revolution, looking at how the blue economy promises not only to redefine sustainability and trade, but to extend new agency to the world's coastal communities. Yet, as we chart these untested waters, it's imperative to ensure that this transformation does not replicate entrenched gender hierarchies. How can women and gender diverse voices shape ocean governance, innovation, and resource stewardship from the start? This panel explores inclusive models of growth, the intersection of gender and maritime policy, and the opportunity to anchor equity at the heart of the emerging Blue Order. Thank you again. My name is Jennifer L. Lewis. I'm an independent consultant on gender. I'm here with Shelley Ben-Ghiat. She is the Director and Chief Executive Officer of Environ Education and the founder and the chairwoman of Corals from Australia. I'm also here with the lovely Tina Jutton. She's the former Member of Parliament from Mauritius, an advocate for climate change and the blue economy, and a UNESCO Young Leader of 2025. I'm not sure if there's one thing that you both would like to share that I haven't mentioned in my very quick synopsis of your very many accomplishments, but please, Shelley, if you'd like to share something.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for the introduction and for taking the initiative to put together this important session. So the one thing that brings me here that has not been mentioned is that Corals has been at the forefront of developing the research and development of the first accreditation in Australia and globally for marine habitat conservation and restoration in the vocational sector. So recognizing that scientific studies and degrees are important, but technical skills should be available from high schools and beyond. So.
Absolutely, that's very important. Thank you so much. Tina.
Well, what has not been mentioned is that I'm also a founder of an NGO called Sparkle, which is to add sparkle in people's lives. And one of the main projects I've been working on since a long time, even before being a politician, was to try to destigmatize speaking about mental health awareness. And I know of cases, I had personal relatives who went through immense depressive periods, and I have a student who committed suicide. And this pushed me to start this movement and to speak about what is not spoken. We are talking about policy, we are talking about reimagining, gender, climate change, peace. But I think it all starts with our state of mind and what you call our education and belief system.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm blown away by both of you ladies already, and we haven't even really gotten started. Well, I'm going to dive right into the questions, so to speak. Our first question is, as the blue economy takes root, what practical steps can ensure that women and men benefit equally from new opportunities in coastal and ocean industries? Shelley, do you want to start?
Absolutely, thank you. So I will keep my focus at my field of expertise, which is vocational technical education. And I will say that whilst maritime is primarily led by male, and there's many reasons for it. And in the education section, women do have a legacy of many years across different sectors. So what I believe can enable gender equality and really promoting the best of the different skills that women and men has can manifest when we look at marginalized communities. In Australia, we work with indigenous communities in remote island and coastal locations where education is not available, neither at university degree and sometimes high schools. So what we actually offer is for youth as well as mature age leaders in the community is an incubator for community members to bring their aspirations and to enable them to lead the community. So I'm privileged to have established several non-for-profit organizations in our Pupi Kakmalu. It's perfect C in the Miriam language, and we emerged several organizations that are women-led to bring into island community education for youth and with indigenous leaders, both male and female. So this is a way to really support communities in equal way and to support those locations that generally would be excluded from blue economy.
Oh, wow, that is so very important. And also interesting that, partnering with Indigenous leaders so often is the gateway to maybe a more gender equitable way forward for all of us. Tina, what do you think?
I think if we need to see how the opportunities can be open to both women and men, first of all is sensitization, information, education, literacy. Like if we speak, for instance, about the coastal communities, many kids right now, it might not speak to them when you speak to them about what job would you like to do in the future. They don't even think about it, but because maybe they do not even know what other opportunities that are in the sector. So first, it is this literacy. And second, I think by being better informed, there's also a need for training, just like mentioned. So be it academic training, formal training, or vocational training, which is very important. And this access to such capacity building needs to be, available to both, any gender to be, for that matter. And I believe that, as I mentioned earlier, if we're speaking about blue economy being a new pioneer for a career path, then we need to also look at the stereotypes. For instance, how many women are there in the blue economy, in the shipping sector, maritime sector? What are the type of jobs that are sold off? How many seafarers are women? So first aspect is security of a job security, and do they feel safe seeing them in such a career path? Second thing is the stereotypes about blue collar jobs and other jobs, other types of jobs. And third, I believe, is that how the youth's passion and dreams can be really embedded into a long-term career path. So I think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful. Well, I'll just move along bearing in mind our time constraints to the next question. What changes in policy, financing, or workplace norms are needed to make the blue economy fairer for those whose contributions often go unseen and undervalued? And Tina, I think this is kind of picking up on kind of where you've just left off, that might be some reasons why perhaps people of a certain gender are unable to work in certain aspects of the sector. So maybe, Tina, I'll start with you this time.
So I believe that in terms of policy, so the policy has to be, first of all, open to all, and the education about these policies. So like whether someone is in a coastal community, whether in a rural area or in an urban area, and this information should be accessible. Like for instance, if a government is coming up with a policy to recruit so many say young people in the blue economy, first of all, we should be aware about it. Second thing, I believe, because what are the limitations and the contributions that often go unseen, I think it's basically all the hard work, because this goes like, if we look at mangroves plantation in my constituency at the time, it started by the women, the wives of the fishermen who were at home while the husbands were going fishing. And today, I believe that this needs to be promoted, and instead of like being looked looked at like something specific for a particular age group or a particular class of a social ladder. These should be redefined, and it comes to education. So if we want to really change things, it comes to education. And education here is not formal education. It's about what is shared even from childhood as a child grows up. What are the norms, and what is it about respect? What is it about appreciation of what life has to offer? And in a way, I would like to say that one limitation is the mindset. Because if someone thinks that money is the only driver, then they would always be tempted to look at such career paths where they would think that income is the sole source of happiness in a career. But that's not true. So other concepts like, what resonates with you, what work do you feel happy doing, what are the causes like the youth are passionate about. These are the things that we need to bring up. And this is what will actually make the people, the youth, the women, be able to express their voice about it and also find themselves in whatever field. And if we're speaking specifically for the blue economy, I believe that we have to value and appreciate the efforts of everyone. So from, as I said, from the fisherman who goes to sea, to the wife of the fisherman, to the seafarer, to those involved even in, like in collecting and everything. So they should not be marginalized.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Giving value not just to the work that has already been predefined as having value, but to that work that is so often unnoticed and unpaid. Okay. And Shelley, what do you think?
Well, I think that, we heard a lot about sustainable circular blue economy that maintain the ocean health whilst we are developing the industry that has impact on the ocean, of course. And when we talk about ocean health, there is only one parameter that can really indicate ocean health, with it ocean life. So when ocean is able to produce biodiversity, enhance it, it means ocean is healthy, of course, in a balance. And so when we actually talk about policy, there are over the past certain financing models like carbon sinks, which only give value to greens, to mangroves and seagrass. Lately, we've seen the finally emerging biodiversity credits, which give different financial options to increasing biodiversity. However, whilst the concept was established a few years ago, there's still a big gap in how to implement it. So when policy makers will actually put the attention on the value of life of the ocean, that could really mean that we are measuring ocean health in a valid way, or in a way that actually manifests the outcomes that we want to see. And when we talk about sustainability, we always have to measure the three parameters, which is social development, environmental, and financial. And I want to mention really interesting outcome from the event here. I had the privilege to interview a lot of students that came and volunteer here, Indian students studying from environmental sectors, blue economy, and even international relations. And I asked them all, are you currently employed? And they said no. And I noticed as well in other training organizations, we have different degrees, but whilst we train about environment or about politics, we are seldomly seeing the training about financial literacy. So if we want to create a more inclusive, circular and sustainable blue economy, that means we have to empower the community members to actually bring their passion, their aspiration, which they know best because it's their communities, to the blue economy. And for example, giving access to financial literacy, how to apply for grants and fundings, especially in indigenous communities. And that can really enable students right now studying, even here in India, that are very inspired, that are studying international relations, and they have a dream. And they shouldn't be waiting until after their degree to manifest their dreams. The education that we give to our youth today should, could, and definitely is able to give them results, and not only to get the jobs after they graduate, but create jobs for their communities and be proactive, collaborative, and creative on manifesting the jobs they want to see within their community, not only for themselves. So financial literacy, how to find these diverse type of funding schemes and grants and so on, and to train them to do it as they study, so make it very practical.
Well, I second what you've just said. There's been such an incredible amount of talent that's been here today and over the past few days of the conference, and I hope that they will heed your advice and seek out those pathways. I know we're getting quite short on time now, so I'll go to our very last question. How can policies leverage women's unique collective action to advance ocean conservation and boost the economic empowerment of coastal communities and integrate local knowledge and leadership principles into marine governance frameworks? I'm not sure if that's a bit complicated, but I think we're going back to the issue here of indigenous wisdom and local knowledge and local wisdom. So perhaps, Shelley, you want to pick up on that again?
Yes, and I would love to mention that, looking at communities, whether indigenous or not, we live in a consumer-led world and market. So actually, when we think about what women do best, which is, educate the family, be part of the community. When they have kids, many times they stay moms at homes. The knowledge inherited in women is to create this, collaborative, let's say even cooperative approach within the community. So if we want to change community, consumption that is more sustainable and impact on ocean, like, plastic and so on, then giving the women the opportunity to develop cooperative type of organizations that can support the community in how to reduce cost of sustainable produce by establishing a community approach to bring resources in, as well as to create livelihood. So when we talk about restoring ocean life, we can do many projects that women can lead, from establishing oyster reefs that can feed the communities, and then putting all the little hands that can be trained from young age how to look after the habitats. After all, the habitats and the gardens under the water, just gardens underwater, and those skill sets can be collectively applied by women and youth to bring prosperity to planet and people.
And Tina, as a parliamentarian, what can you say something about what can we do for policies?
Yeah, I just want to jump back
because
I feel the passion with which she's speaking, because that's definitely why she founded her organization. I want to say I just came from a session which is actually about valuing the indigenous knowledge, wisdom from the local communities, because we have to realize that those communities were at the forefront. For instance, when there were threats like cyclones, droughts, oil spill. Like in my constituency, there was an oil spill, which is called Wakasho, where it just happened from one day to the other, and the whole sea became black. So, and those communities being there, firsthand, and having lived in that environment, they know exactly what has worked in the past. For instance, we had people here from Tonga sharing how the structure of houses being round in the past was more adapted to climate resilience than the new modern structures. We had museums director from Italy explaining how, for instance, fishing with a certain quantity and a type of fish was actually more sustainable than what is happening now, and so much wastage. And we had, we are now here in Mumbai, and we had the advisor to the Prime Minister's office who shared how the women who started the mangroves plantation in an area called Sundarban, if I pronounce it correctly, and how, because women have this trait, nurturing and sharing. Yes. And from there, it became a community activity. And then it inspired other communities, and government then supported by embedding it into policy. And then came financing and other research and other mechanisms. So to come to your question about policy, I think, yes, policy is what will take us forward, but policy needs to be built on a strong foundation. And that strong foundation is the knowledge of those communities, and valuing and appreciating everything, as you said. And also because if we talk about, just, I know time is up, one last line. If we talk about coral reef, I come from Mauritius. We are surrounded by the blue, and right now with what is happening with climate change and the rising sea level and the acidification, all our coral reefs are really, so the corals are dying, and we have coral reef bleaching, and so there's so much to be done. But the people, first of all, need to know and appreciate what they have, because this is life, this is a habitat, and we need to know what it is and appreciate it and value it so that we can take care of it. And this caring comes from, exactly, if we're talking about gender, I think it is in, like, natural, I would say, a natural instinct for women to have that kind of nurturing, caring, compassionate aspect, which can be transferred into leadership.
100%.
So that's what I think women as leaders and drivers of a blue economy is what is required.
And we've certainly seen a lot of wonderful examples of female leadership here at this conference and here at this table.
Oh.
And I just want to thank you both so much for being here today, and thank you to the organizers. And I wish we had another 5 sessions that we could keep talking about this. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your work in policy, and thank you for your work in active leadership and proactive of women empowerment. And obviously education is an area that we saw women leading, so hopefully that can continue and emerge to support sustainable blue economy. Thank you.
Thank you.